So you think you need a lot of money to invest in property? Think again. They say that knowledge is power, but the reality is the application of knowledge that's power. There's no point just listening to this. You need to be able to implement it. And by the way, if you need more help implementing, put education in the comments below. I will do a free one-to-one consultation to help you on your property journey. So knowledge. Clearly, you're here because you have a lack of knowledge to help you achieve this. Not that you're an idiot, just we need to bring that knowledge into what you didn't know to now you know you don't know it, and then we can move it into you know. And then we're going to make money. So I want to go through a few different options with this. Now, I'm going to break this down into property, and then I'm going to go into business, all right? So property and business, they are two different things. For example, you can own a property business. I have few different, 5 different property businesses, and I make anything between 800 and 1.2 a month from that. So I've got a decent amount of income from property businesses. I also own a fairly decent size, boring vanilla buy-to-let portfolio where it makes me tens of thousands every month, and it's worth over 8 figures now, okay? So that's owning property. Two different things. So when we're looking at property, what can we do? Well, first of all, we need to decide if we're looking for the asset or not. What this means is, am I looking to own the asset? You might be thinking, well, of course I am, right? Well, no, you don't always need to own the asset to make money. So let's assume there's a buy-to-let property. Well, let's assume you've got 0.4 in the bank account right now. We're going to need to look at a few different things. 1, 2, and 3. Number 1 is JVs. JVs are joint ventures. A joint venture typically is where one person is putting in the time, the knowledge, and the effort, and the other person's putting in the money. The upsides of a joint venture, apart from they're putting in all of the money, is it de-risks you as the effort side, the sweat equity, if you like. So when you're putting in the sweat equity, you're sharing in the upside, but you're also sharing the risk as well. And what that means is, if the property, for whatever reason, doesn't make the money you thought it would, it's not the end of the world. Obviously, it's not great, but you're not losing more than you need to because a joint venture knows that they are risking their money. Now, really important thing with a joint venture, and I'll go through how to find these people, but they have to be either a sophisticated investor or a high net worth individual. So I'm not going to go into the breakdown of this, but if you go on the FCA website, the Financial Conduct Authority, and have a look at something called PS13/3. Okay, and do you know what? If you want me to do more info on this, put a very specific call to action, PS13/3 in the comments, and my team will let me know, and I'll do a real deep breakdown about the compliance of joint ventures, the sexy side of property. But you need to make sure they are a high net worth or sophisticated investor. Now, that's because the government's decided they don't know the risks of that. The next one is a straight loan. Okay, in America, they call this the hard money, the hard lender. This is when a private individual is lending you the money. Very similar to a joint venture in the fact that they want a return. They're just putting in the money. You're putting in the sweat equity, all of the effort, the time, the knowledge, etc. The upside for you is that you're going to end up paying back less. And the reason for this is it's a bilateral loan agreement or a straight loan, i.e. here's 100 grand, in a year I want back 110 because I'm wanting 10% return. The downside, so that's good because you're paying out less. The downside is you are taking on the risk. They are loaning it and they want the 110 back irrespective of how the project does. And so a lot of the time they're actually loaning you as an individual the money, not the property. And they're going to want some security on that. So a lot of people think, oh, I'll just get it loaned to my business. The thing is, most of the time they'll want something called a PG. A PG, that is terrible, sorry. A PG is a personal guarantee. What that means is that you, as an individual, are liable for it. So decide what's better for you. If you're less experienced, joint venture is going to be better. I'll go through how to find them in a second. A loan. And the final one is bridging. So bridging is a really good way of making money from the lender's point of view and yours. Now, they are perceived as higher risk. Personally, not that high risk in the grand scheme of things, but they are expensive. You're talking 1 to 1.3 a month as a percentage. They are short-term lending. It is called this for a reason. You are bridging between point A and point B. So it might be that you have purchased a property here with a bridge. You are getting the funding from the bridging to get you to the remortgage of the property, where you're getting a lender on it, or selling the property. So that is asset lending. How do you find these? Well, network. So when we're looking to do this, I like networking online, which is going to be things like Facebook group on LinkedIn. I go to property related Facebook groups. Set your location to where you want your investors to be. So if I want to find investors in London, I'm going to put on Facebook, change my settings and say that I live in London. I'm then going to go on business, joint ventures, venture capitalists, for networking group, property groups, and I'm going to click members, scroll down, and it will show me members in my location. Nice little tip for you for booking a coffee. Offline, I'm going to look at things like BNI, Business Network International, joint venture associations, which there's a lot in London, venture capitalists, or angel networking events. All of those, and there's curry clubs and things like that, business curry clubs, all very great areas. The other one, more local, is friends and family. But Jamie, do I need to buy the asset to make money through property? The answer is no. And by the way, if you're getting value from this, make sure to hit like. It feeds the team's ego. / my ego, thank you. Okay, what if I don't need the asset? Well, we could do assisted sales, LOs, EDCs, and a bunch of other acronyms. But I'll start with these ones because these are probably my 3 favorite. So an assisted sale is when you're doing a form of a flip. Now, when you hear of a flip is when you are taking control or owning an asset, doing it up typically, and then selling it on. And there's 3 main ways of doing this. Number 1 is through a refurbishment of the property, so I'm enhancing the value. Number 2 is increasing the number of rooms in a property. For example, I might buy a 1-bedroom flat in London that's a decent size. I might move the kitchen into the bedroom, move the front room around, and then I might end up with a 2-bedroom flat with a kitchen diner type experience. And suddenly it's the value of a 2-bed property instead of a 1-bed property with the same square footage. Now, that is not true of every area in the UK, but in London and other areas, you absolutely can do that. Number 3 way is by extending a lease. So if you've got a leasehold property, which is when a freehold is when you own the ground beneath the property, a leasehold, you are renting, you're leasing the freehold, the land at the bottom. And what you can do is when it gets a short lease on the property, the value of the property goes down. And so I'm not deep diving on this, although again, put a comment of section 42 if you want me to do this. You can buy a property, but you issue something called the section 42. And what this does is it allows you to extend the lease and increase the value of the property. So why does this relate to assisted sales? Well, the problem with flips is you need to buy it, refurbish it and sell it. But an assisted sale is where you don't buy it. You take control of the asset instead of owning it. You then enhance the value, usually through one of those 3 ways, and you sell it for the increased. And you do that through something called a section 42 on the lease extension. So S42. A lease option. We're going through a lot right now. By the way, if you're watching this and going, damn, I really do need to get educated, put education in. We'll do a free 1-to-1 strategy session with me or one of my team, and we'll see if we can even help you over the next 12 months. We typically help the average person make 6 figures in just 12 months, by the way. Big claim, but we actually deliver it. So a lease option. This is a really powerful one. I love lease options. So typically we're buying a property, but actually you can take control of the property. So let's say I've got a property right now. Typical example might be it's worth 200,000. So let's say that's the value, but let's say it's in negative equity. So let's say the debt on the property is 210,000. This is called negative equity, where the equity, the 200 grand, the value is less than the debt. Also, you might hear this called upside down. So when a property is upside down, I know it's a weird terminology, it means there's too much debt on the property. Well, let's say they've got 15 years left on that mortgage? Well, what I can do is I can take control today. Now, I'm going to say the wording of this. It gives, if I write a contract today and it's a 15-year lease option, and let's say I've agreed to buy it at 210,000, it says it gives me the right, but not the obligation to buy the property within the next 15 years. So right, but not the obligation. The vendor, the person that owns the property, has the obligation, not the right. What that means is at any point between today and 15 years, I can buy the property. So let's say at any point during this 15 years, the value of the property goes above the debt level, which if it's in a decent area, there's never been a 10-year period ever where property prices haven't gone up on average in the UK. There's some shit areas that have, but most areas you're absolutely fine. And I could do it at any point. Now here's the thing, that actually it's also assignable. What does that mean? What it means is I don't need to buy it. So let me give you a nice scenario. Let's say 10 years from now, this property is worth 400,000. Just bear with me, obviously these are fake numbers. So it's worth 400,000, but I've got an offer on it at 210. Well, what I can do is list the property, and let's say I sell the property at 390k, but I've not bought it. I don't own it or anything like that. I sell it at 390. I pay off 210 to the vendor, and I am left with 180k minus some legal fees. So call it 178. So I've just made 180,000. In the meantime, I rented out the property, made the income, and I didn't even buy the property. So that is lease options, EDC, exchange delayed completion. Essentially, there's two parts of buying a property. There's exchange and then there's completion. Exchange means you're legally tied in. But what you can do, let's say it needs a load of refurbishment, is you can exchange the property, get the refurbishment done, and then complete on the property at the end with the new value. Okay, now I don't have time to go in depth with this video. I'm probably going on too much already, but it gives you a really good idea. Now, these are 3 of about 30 different creative strategies of making money in property. And genuinely, if you actually want to learn this in depth, it's not going to be from a YouTube channel. If you're ready to back yourself and actually learn this, you want to make 6 figures in the next 12 months, put education in. I know that's a big claim. Put education in. There's no cost. We'll have a free one-to-one call, okay? And we will help you. The final way that I want to talk about is actually owning a business. This is how I make most of my money. Okay, so this business is called property trading. Okay, property trading, the most basic form of this is deal packaging. You might have heard of that. And essentially right now I'm doing roughly $500,000 on a monthly basis in revenues at about 65% profit margin. So it gives you a really good idea. But essentially this is where you're sitting in the middle of transactions. So you've got you in the middle, you've got a house one side, and you've got investors on the other. Now, the cool thing about this is you're surrounded by money all the time. You're surrounded by deals all the time. And what happens is this big circulation route. You don't need any money. If you're watching this and you've got a $4,000 credit card and that's all you have, you can make 6 figures in the next 12 months. And I know that sounds crazy and a big claim. I do it, I teach it, and obviously I make that on a weekly basis now, which I know is crazy even saying out loud. Been doing it for 10 years, but I help people do this all the time. The best thing for me is, again, you're surrounded by money. Where do you find your investors? You're already talking to them on a daily basis. Do you think they might be open to a joint venture or a loan? Where do I get the best deals? Because of this business model that's set up, it already works. So what you want to have in your head is a 70-20-10 approach. 70% of your time, in my opinion, should be focused on business. And then your 20 and your 10 should be focused on your core strategies, which for me might be LOs, lease options, and boring, vanilla buy-to-let properties. I hope this has been valuable. Obviously, this is a snapshot. And if you want me to deep dive on any of this, please do let me know, because I could spend 5 hours here, but Ollie would kill me. Okay? So if you genuinely want to find out more, just let me know in the comments. Seriously, if you've been watching this channel for a while and you haven't taken action to back yourself, like, If you don't invest in yourself, nobody will. Warren Buffett says you are the best investment you'll ever make. Take the step, put education, it takes you 10 seconds, put education below. I'm going to send you a link. You can look on the screen, register your details. There's no forced nature. We're going to have a one-to-one consultation call with me or one of my team. I'll find out a little bit about you. And if we can help you go from A to B, then we'll talk about what that would look like. But worst case is you get some free strategic advice from people that are making 8 figures. That's over 10 million every single year in business. I really hope you got value from this. If you did, hit the like button. Takes you 2 seconds, means a lot. You're ready to take action, put education in. And if you're not subscribed, what are you doing? I want to add as much value to you as I possibly can. And I can do that by you hitting subscribe and the notification bell. I'll see you in the next video.